I'm glad that game's over. I told Jay after the game, I was a assistant coach for a Hall of Fame guy that left, and then I got the job where he was coaching it, and that's really hard to do. And what they built a culture of winning there at Wofford, and the job that he has done to sustain. Think about. I don't even know details, but I know this. Storm Murphy left because of grad school issues. If not, he's on that team. The starting center at Virginia Tech he'd be with them. The starting two guard at Morehead State, who was a 12-point-a-game guy, he was supposed to be on that team. There's a young man that I believe signed with Alabama that's from the state, from the Charleston area. He was on that team. Those guys transferred out. What Jay's done and then the brand of basketball they play, they're good. They're that team that when you're sitting there on that selection Sunday and you see your name go up on the board and that's your first round matchup, you sit there and you're like, ugh. It's much respect to Jay and those kids for how hard they play and the brand of basketball that they play.
Frank, obviously they're a three-point shooting team, and they hit quite a few in the first half. What did you guys do to adjust in the second half to kind of chase them further off those screens and close out that space?
Yeah, they run offense and when I mean run, that doesn't mean that they sprint down the court. That's the most overrated part of basketball. Like everyone's an athlete, they should all be able to run down the court. But when they make their cuts and they go screen and they take the screens and they do it at a high pace. And I made some substitutions because you got to play guys. They got to learn. And I think the guys I put in weren't prepared to play at the speed that they run their offense through. So they got some open licks. But as the game went on, I don't care how hard we try to run their offense in practice. B.J. Mack, the point guard, number 4, the other guy, I can't remember his name right now. They've been running that together oh, my God, I'm losing my mind. They've been running that together for 3 and 4 years. So they run their offense at a high clip. But the one thing that we can't do in practice, as much as we try to simulate, is run their offense at the same speed that they run it. So we had to take the initial hit, which we did, and then adapt because we're all first-year guys in my defensive system, and I thought we were really good there. And then we had when we built the lead and they come back and tie it, and then we built the lead again, and then we had they don't drive to score. They drive to pass. And we had some bad mistakes on rotations when they drove. And give them credit. They made us pay. Every time. Every time we made a defensive mistake, they scored. And as we're I tell you guys, sometimes you play really bad offense. Like there was a possession where James Reese made a 3. It was a pathetic offensive possession. But he jumps up and shoots a 30-footer and it goes in the net. And sometimes you play really good defense sometimes you play really bad defense and people miss a shot. They made us pay. Any mistake we made, they made us pay.
Y'all played 4 really well-respected mid-major teams in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Won the last 3 of them. Is it kind of a blessing and a curse to play so many highly respected mid-major teams like that? And what do you take from this going forward?
Yeah, it's this team, our team. When I say this team, I'm talking about our team. We need to play these kind of teams. You get better playing these kind of teams. With all due respect to some big-name school teams, if they got a bunch of freshmen, they're not going to play at the same speed that these guys play in. So you don't develop they're more, some of those, when you got a lot of freshmen, the ball sticks. It's a lot easier to defend. The help side defense is not as good, so it's a little easier to drive the ball. When you play these kind of teams like we've played the last 4 teams, you're playing teams that play offense and defense connected. And, UAB was a little different because they're kind of similar to us with a bunch of new guys. John, these last 4, including Princeton, the last 4 games, have made us improve. We've improved since the day we played Princeton. They've made us improve, and that's a credit to our guys. These guys are fun to coach. That don't mean I say this all the time. It doesn't mean it's like raising a son. Don't mean that you go home sometimes and you're not mad. It's part of the deal. But they come back the next day and they want to do right. They take pride in trying to get better, and they've helped them. The players have helped me heal from last year, and that's a credit to those kids in that locker room. And to all the politically correct people, I know they're not kids anymore. I understand.
Bring James and Eric obviously had his big night, but James had a pretty good night too. How nice is it to have those 2 guys as veteran leaders, but also guys that if a play breaks down or you get a bad offensive set, they can kind of step up and make something out of nothing on the offensive end? James
Reese is an elite defender. I've coached some good defenders. I've had the Defensive Player of the Year in the Big 12. I was Chris Defensive Player of the Year here, Defensive Player of the Year here. How about that? For a guy that don't recruit very good, he's had some really good players, Jesus Christ. My assistants need a parade, Shit. Yeah, excuse me. But, you've been around me for 10 years. I would hope you know that I'm a little different. What was the question again? Oh, yeah, James Reese is an elite defender. Like Eric doesn't get the credit because I come in here and tell you he can really shoot, but he doesn't get the credit for the competitor that he is. Those 2 guys have brought a personality to our team that's elevated everyone around them. They've got Jermaine defending at a high rate. We got to get Jermaine to stop turning the ball over. He wasn't doing that. After 3 weeks of practice, and now he's gotten sloppy with the ball. We need him to stop turning it over. But Jermaine's playing with confidence right now. And those 2 guys have something to do with that. Jacoby, Devin was awful. But somehow, some way, he tuned in. And freshmen usually start bad, they stay bad. That you don't see them start bad and he changed the channel. That's a credit to him. Jacoby, I had to play major minutes. Chico Carter today, we're in foul trouble in the first half, goes out there and helps us. I've got a lot of really good guards that I can trust and throw out there.
Hey, Coach, you guys were able to go 4-1 without Keyshawn. So now that Keyshawn could be coming back in the fold very soon, how great is that, and how much of a boost is that going to give you guys, especially since you were off to such a good start?
Yeah. I've got to – the great thing about Key is that he's in practice every day. So he understands what we're doing. But then he also brings a different dynamic to our team offensively from wing perspective, like athleticism where he can drive and slash and cut. We really don't have that right now. And he brings that to the table. And so I'm going to have to, over the next 3 days – tomorrow's our day off, so I'm going to try and figure out how to tinker with some things to take advantage of his talents. I couldn't do that before because I'd be wasting practice time. Again, if I would have been practicing that for the last 4 or 5 games, then practice would go for 20 hours and 6 seconds. So then I'd be written up, and the NCAA would call me a bad human being because I went over the 20 hours, and but that's what I've got to do tomorrow. I've got to create some little things because he's an older player, so it'll be easy for him to adapt. But he's been great in practice, man. I'm really happy with him right now. Again, James Reese, Eric Stevenson, They have elevated those guys' spirit. Jermaine, Keyshawn, they've elevated their spirit. And those guys are really, really engaged right now, including Keyshawn. But anytime you can add we've had one guy that was picked preseason all-league. Who was it? So anytime you can add that to your team 5 games in, you should get better. So, now it's my job to put it all together.
AJ was saying that he wasn't all the way back in game shape after missing the past couple of weeks. Just
A minute in, he couldn't breathe. I'm like, Jesus, my fat rear end can run out there for more than a minute.
yeah, just curious your impressions on him in his first game back, and just kind of where he is right now physically and basketball wise.
He's going to give us I think you saw some of the shot blocking that I'm talking about. He's going to give us that dynamic. He's got he's a better rebounder than he showed today. He stood around too much today, and it's because he was tired. But he brings something that we don't have right now, and that's experience with size at that 4 spot. And shot blocking at that 4 spot. Keyshawn, that's something else Keyshawn has. That's another guy that can block shots back there. So when people take us off the bounce and they try to go at us, we got more guys that can get in there and create a block shot. But AJ's going to be great. I'm just happy that he's in a peace of mind right now because he went through a difficult 3-week period there. We got to get him up to speed with understanding what we're doing on offense. That was the hardest thing in the second half with him. I didn't know what to run because he just hadn't practiced since when? Like the week before Princeton? Because I thought he was going to practice the day before Princeton, but that's when the death in the family took place. But he had been sick. But so adding him in key to what we've kind of created with the team we got makes us deeper and more athletic. So I'm excited about that.
A lot of runs in this game. I think 8-0 for y'all to start the second half, then 12-0 for them to come back and tie the game, 10-0 for y'all to go back. What does that do what does that do to you as a coach on the sideline, and how do you feel like your team handled coming back after giving up that 12-0 run to tie it?
I'm in a really good mood. So that made me have a run of what I referenced earlier, if you can connect the dots. That's the kind of team that they are right now. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. And I can't answer why us, but we've played some really good mid-major teams at home since the Final Four, okay? Stony Brook, Boston University, I think Stetson, they came in here and beat us. We couldn't score, but that's what gave us a chance today. Anytime they made a run, we settled down and came right back with a run of our own. And that's why I didn't call timeout on that 12-0 run. I wanted to see us. I got older players. They're just first year here, but they're older. I wanted to see us handle that moment. And I needed to learn. And we responded pretty darn good. And I'm just glad that once we made that last run, we kind of kept it there. And the only run left is the one I'm going to make when I get home. Phil?
Know how to follow that. Frank, obviously you just mentioned the offense. Where are you from a comfortability standpoint about this team's offensive identity as you sit here 5 games in, and kind of what's the next step forward in terms of maybe cutting down on some turnovers, solidifying point guard play?
Well, I'm not the easiest guy to play for early in the year offensively because I spend so much time with our defensive concepts. And the way we defend makes us play fast, makes people play fast, including us in practice. I've devoted a little bit more time to our offense this preseason than I usually have because we got some guys that got a pretty good brain. and they retain stuff. We've got to incorporate our bigs more. I thought we did a better job of that today than we have this season, of utilizing our bigs. Like today, there was major adjustments. Their defensive concepts are very similar to Virginia, from a standpoint that if you try to beat them off the bounce, you got zero chance. And we had some guys make those mistakes early in the game. And we talked the whole game about we got to dribble handoff, because how they defend dribble handoffs, it loosen them up a little and then try to attack them from there. We had two baskets coming down the stretch there in that game. The Devin little ISO kind of play where he makes a tough kind of turnaround, and then Jermaine's back cut for a layup. Those are huge, man. Those are huge. But there we ran offense, and the ball never stuck, and that'll come. And we scored 85. That's our six. I don't know what we scored. 85. Yeah, some of these when we've played. You remember they beat us here a couple years ago, and they were really good. We couldn't score. I think the score was 70-50 or something like that, 72-52 or something. Couldn't score. But we got to utilize our bigs more. They need to rebound. We got 5 offensive. Now, we didn't miss a lot of shots, but Jesus, we got to rebound better. Happy Thanksgiving, crew.